Happy Thursday, everybody. We will give everybody a second to join here, and we're just going live. Happy to talk to you today about Beacon Hill and a few things regarding first-year employees. So, hey there, Grace. Hey, Emma. Welcome, everybody. Giving everybody a second to join here. Hello from Dallas. It's raining here. I hope all of y'all are having a little bit more, maybe better weather or just enjoying your week. I know, honestly, sometimes I enjoyed this little bit cozy weather. So glad you guys are here. Thank you for joining. Hey there, Kate. Looks like Colin's joining. We got Callie. All right, welcome everybody. We'll get started here. So my name is Kevin Wilson, and I'm a corporate recruiter here at Beacon Hill Staffing Group. And today we're going to talk about, I get a lot of questions as a corporate recruiter about, what is it like? What's the experience like at Beacon Hill in your first year? And as quickly as my experience has gone, I'm past that by now myself. So I wanted to bring y'all somebody who is in their first year right now, somebody that I know very well, and I think represents what a great first year at Beacon Hill can look like. So let me get our guest in here today. Give me just a second. And while our guest is joining, I will say if y'all experience any technical issues, feel free to drop those comments in the chat to let us know, or we'll just keep talking away. Hey there, Brooks. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us today. How you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm all caffeined up. So I'm doing great.
Necessary for that afternoon push, right?
Oh, hey, look, it's no sweet tea, but I mean, it's better.
All right, everybody. Well, joining me today is Brooks Talkington. Honestly, one of the best last names I've heard in a long time.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Brooks is an account executive here in our Dallas office on the technologies team. And Brooks, you've been with us since it's February of this year. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep. Coming up on, hold on, 9 months, I believe.
That's crazy. This year has flown. It's been huge. I know for you.
Oh my gosh. You're telling me. I feel like I'm finally able to breathe a little bit now that we're kind of settling in. So
yeah, man. Well, I'm so glad you're here. Before we get into the professional stuff, I wanted to give you a quick, personal congrats. You celebrated a pretty big personal milestone recently that I love you got to do at Beacon Hill. What happened for you recently?
I recently asked the love of my life to marry me, and against all odds, she said yes. So yeah, I did it in Colorado. I know you're from there. I ended up doing it in Rocky Mountain National Park because she's from there. And as I was getting down on one knee, I was just thinking, like, what reason can I give her to say yes? And I still couldn't think of one. So, most people propose on one knee. I was doing it on two, just kind of like begging, like, please.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Well, I'm honored that you kind of experienced that milestone while you've been at Beacon Hill. I'm just really grateful we work for a company that celebrates both personal and professional milestones.
Me as well. I definitely don't think it could have happened without Beacon Hill. So I am definitely very grateful for that. I think the turnaround happened a lot quicker because of this company. So
that's awesome.
Very happy.
Well, from all of us, congrats, Brooks. I know we were all very excited. Now today,
thank you.
Today I would love to talk about, I think it's so important to hear about what an experience can be from somebody who's going through it, in the moment. And you've had a pretty impressive first year at Beacon Hill, just with like a couple different experiences. So to start off, I'd love to hear about, I know the story, of course, but from your perspective, would love to hear about, like, how did you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before Beacon Hill, and how did you get to Beacon Hill and to Dallas?
Sure. So I graduated from college. I got my undergrad in 21 and my master's in 22. And as you know this, I played football in college. So got done with that entirely in November, December of 2022. And from there, went into the workforce and just was really seeking out a competitive environment. Shocker, right? I know, but the football player wants to be competitive. But that's kind of how I got into the staffing and services side of things. My mother she did pretty much exactly what I do, and she actually became a regional manager for Kelly Services. And then when she had me, she actually stepped away from that role. So, So I was aware of the staffing industry. I had a broad idea, but like there's nothing like getting into it, and that makes you understand everything just significantly more.
Totally. And I honestly, I love that you have that perspective. I think, this industry is so much larger than it used to be, and there's a lot of different styles of staffing. So I always encourage anybody I talk to, get a few different
Hmm.
perspectives. Like it's not necessarily that one is better than the other, but you will probably find that you align with one style of how we do this work, company to company. And
Exactly.
obviously
There's a
very
million
grateful.
different ways to skin a cat, so you're gonna do it different way. But we're from Texas. For people who aren't from Texas, we speak in these southern sayings. At least I do. He's from Colorado, so it's a little different.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were captain of the UNC football team, right?
I was, yes, sir. I was there from 2017 to 2022. I was part of our leadership council and then a captain for the last part. And you hear that's 6 years of college, 2 degrees. It didn't take me 6 years to get one. I had a redshirt year and a COVID year,
Yeah.
so I was able to get both, and it was a really good experience. A core experience as to why I am who I am now. So
Yeah.
you can either attribute it or blame it, one or the other. But here we
Well, honestly,
are.
that's kind of a perfect segue. If I haven't said this already, I recruited Brooks to Beacon Hill. I
Yep.
was very happy to have you join, our team, the office, but I think your background set you up really well for Beacon Hill and for this kind of work. So can you speak a little bit to that, like whether it was your, leadership being the captain of the football team, or whether just, your work experience that you had as
Sure.
well. Those, brand ambassadors. I know if anybody sees Brooks, you usually see him with a cowboy
You're
hat.
lucky I didn't wear
Um,
one today. I decided to save that for the holiday party. So at the holiday
I
party, I will be rocking a cowboy hat, and you're gonna have to pry it off my head. I'm just telling you now.
You said it. I'm going to hold you to it. It's a verbal
It'll
contract
be
now.
there. I mean, this. I took my first in-person interview here in a cowboy hat. I just said, "Hey, look, we're gonna rock it. I'm gonna show you who I am." But to your question, yeah, I mean, I think any college athletic experience translates really well, especially in this industry. It's not near as much competing against other people.
Sure.
It's competing against yourself. It's everyday, and this is going to sound very dramatic for what the job is, but honestly, it's deciding I want to do better today than I did yesterday, right? And you're not always
Love.
going to win that battle, but ultimately, I think that's what a lot of this job revolves around. It's being competitive with yourself. It's, hey, yesterday I did this many calls, I set this many meetings, or if you're on the recruiting side, I had this many subs over. Today I'm going to try to beat that, right?
Yes.
So that's been my philosophy into it anyway. I think it's worked decently well thus far, but by all means, like I'm always open to being, to coaching. But yeah, that being said, like you also got to be okay with failure. Like failure is it's just what happens. Like in life, you're never gonna have anything go perfectly, and if you do, you might be dead, because that just, at least in my experience, it just doesn't happen. So understanding, like, hey, you're gonna be uncomfortable. There's going to be moments where people don't like what you have to say. They don't like what you're selling. They don't like you. And there's going to be moments where you're not telling the line, and you probably should be, and you get some kind of, check from leadership or whatever it may be the case, right? And you just got to be okay with, hearing what was said, not how it was said, and taking that and hearing how you can improve. And look, I've been screamed at in the face many a times before I got into the staffing industry. So now it just rolls off your back. It's nothing.
Well, I actually kind of love that you brought that up, because I think it's important to have transparency about like the good, the bad, the ugly of what kind of
Yeah.
this industry can come up with certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that in those situations, that's why I think it's so important to have a company like Beacon Hill, where our culture is absolutely celebrates healthy
Of
competition,
course.
but we're not so cutthroat to where when you have a hard situation, I'm sure you can go to your team. You can go
Oh
to
yeah.
sitting down the road from you for a little bit of support, being like, oh, the situation just happened. I'm really frustrated. That's why I love, like, we have kind of fostered a culture here to
Agreed.
be a little bit more, supportive, collaborative. I mean, we're a people-focused industry. We have to use our people skills even with each other.
Of course.
And, sometimes it doesn't always translate on the other end of the phone or the other end of the video
Right.
call, but I think that with us internally, and with honestly a majority of the people that we get to work with, we get an opportunity to see how we can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is an industry where we get to help other people while we also help ourselves.
Of course.
So
Yeah. It's and I think should speak to this as well. This is an extremely supportive, at least the culture we have in Dallas is extremely supportive. The leadership is phenomenal. I'm part of a team led by our senior sales manager, Ben Kepler. He directly leads my team, comprised of myself, Chris Hine, and sorry, I apologize, it's the caffeine, Madison Sims. And we're team nothing but Benjamins because his name's Benjamin Kepler. So shout out to them. We try to promote that healthy competition of, hey, let's set 30 meetings in a week. Why not? If we can set 8 to 10 meetings a piece in a week, I think we're doing pretty good. And we have a reward system too, where it's like, hey, if we hit 10 in a day, maybe we cut out 30 minutes early, go grab a early happy hour or something like that. We do some kind of reward. And amidst that, if we're not hitting the numbers we need, it's not getting chewed out. It's saying, hey, let's revise an approach. And sometimes it can be attributed to, hey, rough day. It was a Tuesday. A lot of people, it was Monday following a holiday weekend. A lot of people already had this stuff set up, whatever it may be. But it's Ben does a great job. Kayla does a great job. Mike does a great job. All of the leadership we have in Dallas, and I'm not trying to be any kind of kiss up here, but truthfully, everyone's very approachable. And there's very rarely any time that you're just on your own. You can't approach anybody, or you're, should I say, like you're not getting the support you need.
Totally.
And it's pretty evident if you walk into our office. I mean, it's a pretty close quarters. Not like cramped by any means, but it's close quarters. Like everyone's able to approach each other and listen to each other, work on the phone or on the Teams meeting, and kind of get that feedback of, oh, I'm going to try to implement that when I do this next time, or when I approach this client, I'm going to bring this person along so that we can, maybe get a tag team going and be able to work it out. So anyway, sorry, I'm gonna go off on a tangent a lot here. So letting you know now.
I love that. I mean, this is the thing. This is for information, right? We want to share what this experience is like, so I welcome it. Thank you for doing that. Now,
you won't thank me here soon, but it's all good.
to kind of go off of something you just said, I think in the workplace, a company like Beacon Hill is really invested in, supporting, young professionals, new talent, talent all across the board. But I think that something that is really pivotal in that process is access to leadership and transparency with leadership, support from leadership. So you kind of were just mentioning this, but how do you think your management has kind of contributed to your success, or how have they also pushed you to kind of chase more?
So especially when I started out as a recruiter, I wasn't afraid to mess up by any means. Like I think that's kind of pivotal to your growth within this company or this industry is just don't be afraid to fail. Yeah. But I would do something, I'd mess it up. I'd go immediately to my manager, say, hey, here's the situation. How would you want me to do this? And they'd walk you through like, okay, just for next time, let's do this. Let's take this approach. Let's do this. Right. And so there's never really been a time, unless they're in a meeting or something, and then they'll just say, hey, just hold up a second. But there's so few times where you're just, if ever, like on your own, right? So it's just and it's not micromanaging, it's accessible managing, and they're not afraid as well to let you make your own mistakes, because that's the best way to learn, in my opinion, right?
I've
played on a football team that won 10 games in the entirety of my time there, right? Not in one season, the entirety of my time. So not by choice, but I have learned far more from losing than I have winning, right?
And you showed up every day.
Showed up every day. I got the scars to prove it, let me tell you. But I mean, I think that's just how it has to be, like now if you get to a point where you're consistently making the exact same mistake, okay, then we need to address it, right? But I think, I've heard our leadership say this, and I've heard it in coaching, I've heard it in whatever it may be, in football, the goal should be to mess up something new every day, right? So make a mistake on something different every day, right? Don't screw up on the same thing twice. Because that means you're trying every day, right? You're trying hard and you're doing all this new stuff. So, if you screw up on something new every day, I think you're doing a pretty good job, no matter how that sounds. And I don't want this edited and cut and displayed in the holiday party of, hey, he says you screw up every day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying screw up on something new. I don't know. I think that's how my warped mind thinks.
Yeah, no, that's what I love. Like, we are an environment that welcomes, like, hey, let's be informed, but we can also take a chance. Let's take a risk
Of
on something we've
course.
before, or get comfortable, figure out the best process for
Hmm.
this. I remember when I was a kid, like, we had a rattlesnake in our backyard, and like my dad, well, I could get this, or you could find a way to try and, solve this problem on your own. And I love
Hmm.
that. Not, we're kind of dealing with that at Beacon Hill, where I love your the phrase you used was accessible management. And
Hmm.
I think that our managers are all producing managers oftentimes. So more times than not, they're in the trenches with you, kind of figuring out, like, okay, I have my clients, I have my candidates that I'm working with. So they
Hmm.
experience a lot of the same problems and can come at that from a really informed perspective,
Hmm.
so that they know already what some of your challenges might be and how to encourage you and motivate you to get past them.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
And there's so rarely any moments that it's like, from the perspective of a manager, that, me saying my problem or your problem isn't worth my time. There's never really any situation of that. It could be something as small as the formatting on a sub or a resume,
yeah,
right? Uh, can I approach you on this? Absolutely. Can I approach you on feedback on this meeting? Absolutely. Can I approach you on how to go about talking to this manager for this company? Absolutely. So I think that that's super important, because eventually, once you answer those questions, you don't have to approach them anymore for anything. You stop making mistakes on that thing, and you're mistaking on something new, right? Something bigger, something better. I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah,
No, it's growth. That's exactly what it
exactly.
is. I love it. Now, of course, like, we're both in the Dallas office, but from your perspective, tell me a little bit about the team. Like, what are your favorite parts? Any like traditions that you've experienced so far that you loved?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I've already shouted out my team personally, right? When I
Dallas,
first got here, I'm going to shout out everybody I can, if I'm being honest with you on this. So when I first got here, my manager was Caleb Merck, and he and I would have a one-on-one every week. And one of the traditions we would do is just like, we'd sometimes take it and we'd go do our one-on-one after hours, over a drink or something, just to kind of loosen up and catch up more, because he cared a lot more about you personally than he does professionally, right? And he cares a lot about you personally or professionally too. And then since I've been here, our office administrator now plays both roles. She was an account executive for us, and now she's our office admin as well. Her name's Kate Haney, and she puts on some of the coolest events here ever. We did a Halloween costume party most recently, celebration, and we had a guy named Gibson Hawk, who's an account executive for us on the technology side. He dressed up as Stone Cold Steve Austin, won the costume contest.
that's
It was awesome. Let me tell you, that's the bottom line. Anyway, but no. So we have a lot of cool traditions we do, and it's a lot of celebrations. Like, Gibson is also having twins here soon. Hopefully, I'm allowed to speak on that. But we had a party for him, a shower for him for that. The boat party, which I missed this year, but the boat
this
party is
is
supposedly a really cool one. You want to talk about Stone Cold? That will be me on that boat next year. I'm telling you, I'm pumped. But no, I mean, it's definitely a culture of, like, there are people consistently hanging out outside of office hours. People consistently getting together, going and working out together, going and grabbing lunch, going and spending time with each other on the weekend, stuff like that. And I think that just kind of makes any team, any organization so much closer and more productive, because you're no longer worried about just yourself. I don't think you necessarily reach your peak production when it's just you, right? You'll see people who hit their stride whenever they have families, they have people depending on them. When you get that relationship, in my opinion, where other people around you in your office are depending on you, but not in a, hey, you need to do this, you're screwing up, more of a, like, we're depending on you, but also we're supporting you, right?
yeah,
You're committing yourself to a cause greater than yourself. I think you're going to see, and like I said, this is all my opinion of a 24-year-old, so take it with a grain of salt. But when you have that, ultimately, you're going to find success in whatever venture you're in, right? So I'm going to get out there and set as many meetings as I can with as many companies as I can, not just because, I want to do well or I want to contribute to the company, but hey, Caleb wants to work on my rec, or, Alec wants to work on my rec, or Timothy, whatever you want to say. Like, these people, if I don't bring in clients, then they're not producing to the level that they can as well, right?
exactly.
So that's kind of my framework on my mind about it, and whether or not that's healthy or not
No,
is up to,
yeah, I think that's great. Being cognizant of how your work affects others, but also like how the people on your team can elevate you
of
and,
course.
push you better so that everybody can be better.
Exactly.
Now we're kind of coming up on our time here. So two, like, just kind of final questions for
We
you.
can go all day, man. You let me know.
No, trust me, I could, and I do. But as far as something I wanted to bring up, now I want to clarify for everybody first. All of our Beacon Hill offices sometimes, have very similar structure.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the office and some opportunities that might be present there. Brooks, you got to experience something pretty cool in our Dallas office. So you started off in one role and are now an account executive. I want to talk about that transition of what that kind of meant for you?
Sure. So I came in as a recruiter, and something that Mike and I and Kayla and I immediately talked about was the prospect of me moving into an account executive position before I even became a member of Beacon Hill, right? A Beacon Hillbilly, if you will. So that's my fantasy name in our office league, by the way. But anyway, so I say that to say that, like, it was always in my head that that's going to be the side of things I went to. Now, getting there as quickly as I have, or as some others have, is really cool. And I think that the reason that means a lot to me is because it means they trust me. Not just when you're dealing with only the candidate side of things, just the person you are employing. There's a lot less pressure. Then there's a lot less risk and a lot less reward, right? When you're dealing with the client side of things, all of a sudden the risk and liability goes up significantly. So knowing that somebody new to the industry or taking a chance on somebody who's new to the industry and new to this whole process, right, and saying, I want them talking to our clients, I think is a huge honor. And I mean, it's like my last name. I really enjoy talking to people. I enjoy these kind of moments where you're understanding and getting to the same common ground. And I think that that's translated a decent bit in my tenure thus far as an account executive. So it feels like this is kind of what I'm made to do, in sales. So I'm not going to say I think recruiting was extremely helpful for me. I do believe that in understanding, what side of, what I'm selling, I was an MBA student. I was a business student, so I wasn't exactly keen on information technology. So that recruiting side was pivotal for me to understand why these companies are doing these things, right? And ultimately, it comes down to most software is bought or procured in an attempt to cut costs or drive initiatives, or drive revenue, I should say. So anyway, long story short, super honored that it happened so quick. And I think the process that it happened was immensely helpful in becoming an account executive. I think if I had done it even a week earlier, I don't think I would have been prepared. And I think if I had done it after, I think I would have taken too much time, So
Sure.
I think leadership did a great job, and our training was phenomenal. And shout out Ben again, his training was phenomenal. So overall, I think it's gone pretty good so far.
Good. And yes, it has, clearly. I mean, I've been able to see you in the office. You're, kind of like a beacon of light in our kind of like really encouraging to like get that energy and that drive from you to like give to other employees.
I
So
appreciate
kudos to you.
that.
Thank
you.
But everything that Brooks was just talking about is, for everybody who's watching, is called our fast track. That's what it's referred to sometimes as. So you might hear that term. It's basically, we have career mobility options that aren't always available in every part of our industry. So I love at Beacon Hill, we fully encourage you. We have a full career path on the recruiting side, all the way up to running your own team, same as the account executive side. There are options for growth and mobility on either side. We want to invest in both professionally, for professional development, opportunity, all that good stuff. So I love
and it makes sense because nobody's the same, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's the same. Nobody has the exact same skill set. So I think it really makes sense that I really appreciate that we have such a diverse and flexible way of going about. I mean, me personally, like I said, all of this is from the one worldview of Brooks, right? Which is a twisted, scary place to be.
But, great place to be. What are you talking about?
Look.
Well, hey, we are coming up to our time, so I have one final question for you that
Please.
If there's one thing that you wish you could have known in your first year and these first kind of 9 or 10 months that you've experienced or any advice that you would give somebody who's going to be in their first year, like does anything come to mind there?
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now by Scott Adams, if you're familiar with who he is. He does he does the Dilbert comics, right? He's great. And it's called Reframe Your Brain. And in that, one of the small subjects of one chapter is talking about creating your own luck, right? Which sounds counterintuitive. It sounds like it's not possible, but it entirely is. So let's say you take, you get an answer out of every 10 calls, right? So if and out of 10 of those, let's say you get one meeting set, right? Or whatever it may be. I'm not even going to go into the math on this because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of everybody who's talking. But in general, you can create your own luck in that if you know that that's the turnover rate, okay, what's stopping you from going and calling 200 people, right? Because if you call 200 people, you'll get 20 people to answer, you get 20 people to answer, you'll get 10 people or 2 people, whatever it may be, that will meet with you, right? In a day. And that's a great day,
Sure.
So just the idea, reframing your mind in that, okay, I'm due for a little bit of good luck. I'm going to create my own luck here. And just understanding like not every day is going to fall your way, but if you keep a consistent effort of that throughout your, time in this industry, you will experience good results. Me personally, like I said, this is all just me.
Hey,
but I think that that's some advice I would give to somebody. And that's ultimately, I think that's just, it shouldn't just be, you Caleb would always say, ride the wave, right? So some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad, but I agree with that entirely. And then in addition to that, I would 100% say, create your own luck,
I love that. Well, Brooks, thank you so much for your time today. Seriously, I know how busy it is. I know how busy this world is. So take this time out meant a lot to me, especially being the person who kind of was a part of bringing you to Beacon Hill. It's been an honor to chat.
Been a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and for everybody watching, I'm going to borrow a little bit of inspiration from our Beacon Hill Associates and HR divisions. This week is Gratitude Week for Beacon Hill Associates and HR. And I will just say, as a corporate recruiter representing the company, we are all so grateful for all of you who are watching. Grateful, Brooks, super grateful for you working in the same office. And to any of our clients, candidates, or future employees, we are grateful you're taking the time to get to know us. So I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Enjoying some of the holiday season. And Brooks, we will be talking, I'm sure, soon after this.
Oh yeah, we'll see all y'all at the holiday party, man. Just point me in the direction of karaoke. All right.
Sounds great.
That's all I know.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Happy Thursday. And Brooks, have a great rest of your day.
You too. Appreciate you.
Bye.